Game day has returned for the Arizona Coyotes. They face off against the Detroit Red Wings. We're going to break this one down, get your preview, and everyone ready on this Black Friday edition of Locked On Coyotes.
You're Locked On Coyotes, your daily podcast on the Arizona Coyotes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. I'm Robyn Leonio. That's Carl Pavlock right beside me. On today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast, I want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including on YouTube. We got a great show for you guys today. We're previewing Arizona Coyotes versus the Detroit Red Wings. It's now Black Friday, so everyone's got their maybe some Thanksgiving days off, and who knows who did what yesterday. But for the Coyotes, I think a lot of people probably not much because they got to get ready for another game. But
yeah,
what do you think, Carl?
Yeah, I'm betting they probably the dad's trip. I think it may still be happening. So fly to Detroit, go out to dinner with your dads. Should be pretty fun for the team.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you. I've already started buying sale video games, so playing some Doom 64.
Oh yeah, no, I'm just I'd mainly wait for Cyber Monday for all my deals.
The good thing about video games now is they're on sale for 10 more days on the Nintendo eShop, which is where I'm buying them. So it's yeah, it's Black Friday week. Why not?
Yeah, I think everything has become more of a blur now. Everything isn't just this specific day you got to get these deals. This specific day you got to get this. It's just hey, it's just a season of deals. I love it.
Yeah. It's definitely gone a long way from in 2007. I think I stood outside of Best Buy starting at 10 a.m. the Thanksgiving day to get the best Black Friday deals. It's definitely come a long way since then.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But let's go ahead and take a look at this pregame because we are getting ready for Arizona versus Detroit. Going to be another interesting game. Detroit right now is, what would you say, when we're pre-recording, third in the Atlantic?
Third in the Atlantic, behind the Bruins and the Maple Leafs. Despite playing fewer games, they have 24 points, so they're not going to catch up to either of those teams anytime soon. But still very respectable. They're currently ahead of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Florida Panthers, two teams that I expect will surpass them as the season goes along. They've won their last three games, 6-2-2 in their past 10.
I'm just kind of stuck on the fact that the Maple Leafs are second in the Atlantic, despite the fact that they lost to Arizona, San Jose, and Anaheim.
Yeah, and everyone seems to think that they are irreversibly broken. It's weird. Toronto is always a very interesting team. I think that more speaks to those losses speaks to something we've talked about a lot. Teams underestimate bad teams.
True.
It's probably not going to do them well in the playoffs. That's a really bad habit that the Leafs have.
Absolutely. But looking at this, Detroit's made up of some, interesting players. I'm looking at I'm lost track of who's where. I don't think anyone's surprised that Larkin is really the only person that's on the. You know something that's funny? I'm actually looking at it. Larkin's the only one wearing a letter on his jersey.
Really?
Well, I'm looking at his cat friendly. Normally they'd have the A's next to those players, but Here on Cat Friendly, the only list is Larkin as a C.
Maybe Cap Friendly hasn't automated or updated. Maybe it is a situation where it's rotating captains. Uh,
Maybe.
what about check the IR though? I'm not on Cap Friendly because I'm seeing Bertuzzi is still on the team. I imagine you would give him an A.
I don't see it on there on the IR either. Bertuzzi's active.
Really, he's only played like what 6 games? Wow.
Their IR is filled with Robbie Fabry, Philip Zadina, Elmer Soderblom, Mark. I'm not gonna try to pronounce him. Sichik,
Sure.
um, and Matt Luff.
Hmm. Yeah. Detroit's definitely a very different team, but they're coming together. They are more than the sum of their parts. It looks like.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, they're that good, right? They got David Perron, who's for some reason tends to be like on decent teams.
Yeah.
You get on wherever he goes.
Uh, One of the players that really stood out to me, Dominic Kublik. Dominic, if I'm mispronouncing your name, I am sorry. Uh, Currently has 9 goals, 12 assists in 19 games. Last season was with the Chicago Blackhawks, 15 goals and 17 assists in 78. So he's off to a really hot start. He is tied with Larkin for goals on the team. So that's impressive. You know, uh, the Coyotes don't play the Red Wings more than 2 games a year, so they're not really a team that I keep track of too much. But there's some interesting surprises with this team.
Absolutely. Obviously, for those Coyotes fans out there, I do want to point out that former Coyote Jordan Osterley is on the blue line uh, for the Detroit Red Wings. What kind of impact he's making, can't really tell. But
Yeah, which I think he's the only former Coyote.
yeah, I believe so. I think there were more Coyotes on earlier this week against the game against Carolina.
Yeah, there was Roundhouse, Stepan, Martinuk, uh, but it looks like Detroit's not getting too many. Although one player I'm wondering about, because wasn't Perlini briefly with them? Doesn't look like he is anymore.
No, no, I don't even know where he is anymore.
So what what about this Detroit team do you think is the reason for their success? If you had to name one thing, what would it be?
um, I think it's hard to tell. Looking at their build up right now. Um, I do have to say though, like no matter what, you got to put a lot of trust. I mean, like I guess trust isn't the right word here, but like on this sense, but like you got to give a lot of credit to Steve Eiserman, right?
Yeah.
Because Eiserman built the Lightning franchise as we know it, and then once he moved on over to Detroit, he was kind of given a big pile of poo.
Yeah.
So he kind of worked with it, and it still looks like a weird ragtag team, but stuff done.
Yeah. I do kind of wonder because looking at this team, like we are less than 20 games into the season, which is less than a quarter of the way. We've already talked about the fact that the Panthers and the Lightning are both currently below the Red Wings. I think that's going to change. If the Red Wings miss the playoffs, like how much rope does Yzerman have? Is my question, because he's been there a bit, and they still haven't gotten that much success.
True. I think, I do think Detroit's probably going to give him a little bit more of slack, mainly because of the name attached to him and his legacy in Detroit.
That is like one of those reasons I always am wary
Wait,
of teams hiring old legends, just because, like we saw it with the Colorado Avalanche, it's really hard to fire a legend, and they end up sticking around maybe a bit too much in some cases. I am interested though when he signed with Detroit.
been a few years, I believe. 'Cause I
Yeah.
know Ken Holland's been out for a while.
April 19th, 2019. So 3 seasons. It's like
That's still within.
starting.
That's still within the. You know what? Like, we'll give you some. We'll give you some time to build your
Yeah,
team.
yeah. I mean, that's definitely like within a rebuild timeline. So yeah, I imagine he'll be around for like at least another two,
Uh,
even if
uh,
the Red Wings do badly.
True, true. In just a little bit, though, we are going to go ahead and take a look at the keys to the game for Arizona to try to take the win, as well as players to watch. All that and more in just a moment.
Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. It's where you can get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports and hockey. We've got it all at betonline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you're listening to one, so I'm sure you do. You can find those on BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting information. Head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
So let's now move on, Carl, to our uh, keys to the game for the Arizona Coyotes. I always love this to see kind of where we're at because things kind of change depending on what teams they're playing. Mates, we get mainly the same keys for Arizona because they make the same mistakes when it comes to losses.
Yes.
But is there
To be
anything
fair, they also
different?
make those mistakes in wins too.
True. But what are the biggest keys that you think Arizona needs to try to beat Detroit?
The thing I've been really impressed with is the Coyotes 5-on-5 play. I really hope that is something that continues. It is definitely something where, for a long time they were relying mostly on their power play to get offense, which is not something you should be doing. Um, they had 3 5-on-5 goals in the last game. One of those came like seconds as the power play was expiring, but still, like, just control the 5-on-5. Uh, I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but definitely need to avoid taking penalties. That has been just the biggest issue with them all season. And let's see, I'm gonna go with the third one of goaltending.
Goaltending.
I Yeah, just in general, like whoever's in net. We're not sure if it's going to be Vemelka or Ingram. Either way, the Coyotes are going to need solid goaltending. It really kept them in the game against Carolina, which is weird because they were never trailing that game, but goaltending is the reason why.
I'll give you one and a little bit back, and it's focusing on the ice tilt because you take a look at how Carolina, what Carolina did, and they were battering shots, right? They were
Yeah,
battering shots against the Arizona Coyotes, and they were Um, and it got to the point in which, like, when it got to a break, when they finally got a break, those players were tired. So, focus on that ice toe, get the breakout that you need to get your change, or get the forecheck that you need to reverse that kind of momentum and get the other team tired. Because if you're in your own zone most of the time, you're gonna get tired, and that's gonna end up leading to losses. So focus on that.
Yeah, and I would say another like aspect of the block shots is we saw like Troy Stetcher went off the ice in pain in the first period. Thankfully, he was able to return. He wasn't injured, but it is potentially like you have a greater chance of being hurt blocking a shot than you would be in other situations. So, I mean, just don't get in that kind of stuck in your own zone. Have everything turn into a shooting gallery. It's not going to work out well for you.
No, it will not work out well for you at all. Now let's kind of move on to player to watch out for.
I mean, I really want to comment on Bukestad and just how well he's been playing lately.
Hmm.
How he got a third goal last you know Coyotes last game. Just beautiful to see. Lawson Krause has been dominant and had 2 goals. Currently leading the team. So I think I'm gonna go with Clayton Keller though, just because he had an assist, primary assist on the Schmaltz goal, but we really haven't seen him like score in a couple games, and I think that's gonna be one of those things that gets stuck in Keller's head. He is such a competitive player. He always wants to be involved in the offense, and he's currently doing it less. So I expect a big game from him.
Absolutely. I want to go ahead and say Jacob Chikrin. He's had a ramp up. Like, you saw, game one versus game two. So now we're at game three back. Like, how much of a, impact is he going to make? One, and two, like, how much is he going to try to make sure that he really proves that he's worth his value? Because again, that's all it's focusing on at this point. Because we know what's going to happen. It's all a matter of when it's going to happen and what the value is. If he doesn't play well, his value is low. If he plays well, his value is high.
Do you think he's worried about that though, or is that something you're more concerned with watching? Like, I could
It's something
see
I'm more,
Chikrin. Okay,
yeah, it's something I'm more concerned with because, like, you know, I'm more concerned with it mainly in the sense that, I'm trying to think of it in Bill Armstrong's seat, right? Because
yeah,
if he kind of like if Chikrin is back and kind of falls flat, you can't really leverage that in a good deal. If
sure.
he plays well, you can.
I mean, you could always like sell it as a change of scenery move, but those just don't necessarily get the same. Um, there are definitely players who I think are focused more on getting moved, especially later in the season as we approach the trade deadline. I hope that's not the case for Chikrin. I hope he is just focused on like, hey, I need to play my best because I'm an ultra competitive guy and I always look to play my best, which I seems to be the case. I think he's looked pretty good to start off. Got his first point of the season in the last game, so it's great to see. He's on a good roll.
Yeah, I really want to see him do well, and I want to see him succeed wherever he goes.
Yeah,
Because we've got a chance to follow him enough here, that, like, yeah, it'd suck to see him leave, but we already are ready for that, where we know it's going to happen. So we're just like, all right, yeah, we wish him the best wherever he goes.
yeah. I mean, I wanted to him to stay with the team, just because I thought his contract worked well for what the rebuild timeline is. I'm still not very impressed with the Coyotes' defensive prospects.
Right.
Uh, the handling of Jacob Chikrin is to me one of the biggest um, black marks on Bill Armstrong's tenure.
Mhm.
The fact that he was saying that he is the only untouchable piece and also moving him or talking about moving him, like to me, that's not great player management.
Right.
So I'd like to see more. I would definitely like for a successful check run.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see because obviously we don't know when it's going to happen. I think I asked you and you said it probably maybe by the All-Star break, but
I think that's what my last prediction was. Yeah,
yeah, but we'll see. We still got some time to see what happens from there. But we're going to go also move on to talk about the Bet Online picks of the game as we get ready for that game. Once again, it's going to be set for about 6 p.m. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. But first, I do want to thank everyone for making Locked On Coyotes your first listen today. From your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter most to the recent big stories in sports. Go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes. Local experts and insights only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today is available on this app, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. But let's go ahead and get to the Bet Online picks of the game. Everyone loves it. We do not have a spread at the time of this recording, but Arizona Coyotes are underdogs
of
set at
course.
the money line plus 171, minus 190 for the Detroit Red Wings. So it's not as much of a tilt as the last game was. The total points set at 6.
Mm. Did what did I think I was 4-2? Yes, for the last game,
Yes, you
um,
said 4-2.
Carolina, which was very surprising. I'm still gonna go with the under, and I have to say, the Coyotes game against the Carolina Hurricanes, they did a lot right. Um, Especially in the second and third period, but they had a horrible start again. And I am
Yeah.
just like not sure of what they can do while they continue to do that. So I am going to go 2-1 Detroit.
2-1 Detroit. Okay. I'm in a similar thought process as you. I'm gonna give both teams a little bit more credit. I think it's gonna be a little more of that kind of tighter matchup. It's still gonna be under that 6. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a 3-2 Detroit win.
I think it does definitely depend on who the Red Wings decide to start in net, because that's
Yes.
going to be kind of like the signal of how they're dealing with the Coyotes. If they start Huso, I think they definitely have the edge. Um, if they start their backup goaltender, I'm gonna butcher this. Alex
Nedeljkovic.
Nevelkovic. Thank you.
Nedeljkovic.
That I think to me signals like, hey, we're not taking this team as seriously as we should. That's the potential for the Coyotes really coming in. Because he has not been all that great in his brief showings with the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, he was great with. I think he was pretty decent when he was with Carolina, a few years back. But yeah, he hasn't been fantastic this season with Detroit. I think it's supposed to be a tandem, not really like a backup, starter backup situation. I think it's what it was supposed to be. But
yeah, I mean, he played 59 games last season. He has currently played 6. So, like, that seems like if it was supposed to be a tandem, it's not working out that way.
right, makes makes sense. Makes sense. But I guess we'll have to see. The game is hockey, like you've said multiple times, hockey is weird. The Coyotes are also really weird. That they do a lot of stupid stuff, but
Yeah, I believe I said hockey is dumb, not hockey is weird, but pretty much the same sentiment.
yeah, there you go. Same, yeah, same, definitely, just pretty much same thing, huh? But yeah, Coyotes do some dumb stuff, stupid stuff because that can lead to wins, that can lead to losses. It's just like, what are you doing? I don't know. But those are our predictions.
Yeah, it's really tough to predict what the Coyotes are going to do right now. Because so often they do something wrong. We saw that so many times, like the penalties in the first 10 minutes, including the 3 they took against Carolina that led to like over a minute of 5-on-3. Like that should have completely changed the game, but it didn't. So the Coyotes somehow survived that period despite being outshot 14-1. And like that's one of those things where I don't know if the Coyotes are going to do that again. If they do, I don't think it's going to work out as well for them. So
Right.
that's like something you need to like kind of pay attention to when you're looking at, predicting the Coyotes. They're very unpredictable.
They are very unpredictable. Do you have any final thoughts about this game before we close things off?
I just want to say, like, after this, it's the Minnesota Wild, so it's not like this is going to get any easier. It's just this is maybe like one of the easier games in the latter stretch of this road trip.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, anyways, though, that's going to be it for today's episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, to like, comment, subscribe if you have yet to already. We're available everywhere you get your podcast, including on YouTube. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We're on Facebook, facebook.com/Locked On Coyotes, on Instagram at Locked On Coyotes, and on Twitter at LO_Coyotes. I'm personally at Robyn_Leonio. Carl Pavlock is at Carl Pavlock FFH. Interact with us, ask a question you might have. We might answer it right back or on a future episode of the Locked On Coyotes podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening to today's episode. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hope you guys are staying healthy. And don't forget to howl on.